Hello, my chicklets. I hope you all didn't miss me too much. October went by way faster for me than I thought it would. However, as promised, we're going to jump into this month with the Flip the Script series. There's only a little bit of hurt comfort for this one, so let's go ahead and jump into Villain or Vigilante. Get away from me, you freak! The little girl cried, running away from Patton, who stood there confused, tears in his eyes. He hadn't meant to do anything bad. She had looked so sad, and Patton thought he could fix that. He was just trying to help. He thought that was what powers were for. Helping people, right? That's what you get for letting a villain into the school. The older kid stood over him, a shadow that eclipsed Patton's view of the sun. He didn't understand. He wasn't a villain. He just wanted to help. He only ever wanted to help. Maybe we can beat the villain out of you. He only wanted to help. But no one helped him. 10 years later, Patton had graduated near the bottom of his class. Rumors constantly circulated around him. He kept a smile on his face that never reached his eyes and avoided his classmates the best he could. 5 years after that, he was one of the most feared villains in the city. His classmates had gotten what they wanted, and Patton got to protect his heart by never letting anyone have a scrap. He was a villain, just like they said. You're... Shh, Patton said, cutting off the guard as he held a finger up to his lips. I'm only here to borrow a little cash. No reason to fear, kiddo. He pulled the fear from the other man, and he relaxed. Now rest. That's the best thing to do. The thing about his powers was when he was younger, repressing an emotion made it come back stronger after a while. Now that he had some practice, he did it intentionally. He would repress a person's fear, only for their fear of him to grow exponentially once he was gone. It was how he gained his reputation. He didn't actually hurt anyone, just placed an irrational fear in them, and he had the whole city under his thumb. He got the cash he needed and disappeared into the night. The world saw him as a villain. And he was. He took things that weren't his. He scared people to keep them in line, and Patton knew those were evil things to do. Still, he couldn't help himself as he dropped off some of the money in unmarked envelopes around the city to families that needed it. What was the point of money and power when everything it bought him felt hollow? In his day-to-day life, Patton worked at a library. He happily used his powers to get people more comfortable around him. He got them talking and knew all of the gossip from around the city. Even if Patton was helping people, he was still a villain. He was doing what he wanted, manipulating people with his powers to shape the world the way he wanted. That was what villains did. He was going to take what he wanted from this world. Good morning, Logan, Patton said as he entered the library, setting his bag down in his locker. Salutations, Patton. You seem in a good mood. I am. Last night I went out and got some exercise, and then I had a scoop of cookie dough ice cream because I deserve it. I'm glad to see you are in high spirits. You don't mind working the front, correct? I have some cataloging I would like to do. Of course. Patton saluted Logan before walking out to the front. It was important to keep up a front for tax purposes, but honestly, he loved his job at the library. It added a sense of normalcy to his life that he just hadn't had growing up. At least, it should have been normal, until Patton saw a man walk in, his hands a bit jittery, and a very distinct purple fringe covering his eyes. Patton remembered him very clearly from last night, and though he was always careful and wore a mask, there was still the concern he had been found out. The man walked up to the desk, not meeting Patton in the eyes. I do... He took in a steadying breath, and Patton kept his face calm with a neutral smile. Do you have a book on managing anxiety? That was not what he was expecting. Of course, kiddo. The man shuddered. Oops. Do you want me to lead you to them? Or do you want me to point you in the right direction? Just point me in the right direction for now, please, if that's okay. Maybe Patton had overdone it just a bit. He didn't like that this was the effect on the man. Crippling anxiety was not his intention. Of course, you want to go down that way, turn left. You're looking for the B section. Specifically, BF636 is going to be the best place to start, but you may find things in the other BF areas that will help you. He nodded. Thanks, he muttered, before walking away, and Patton frowned a bit. No, that had not been his intention at all, and part of him wanted to fix it. The other part of him knew that this was the consequence of his actions, and he just had to live with it. Even if he couldn't, the man returned to the desk, his hands shaking a bit as he put a few books on the counter. Patton let his fingers intentionally brush over the man's, easing some of his anxiety and fear. It's you. His eyes shot wide open, and Patton knew he had been made. This was why he didn't help people. I don't know what you mean. I know that feeling. I remember it. What did you do? Patton was going to deny it again, but the way the man was staring at him, as if he saw right into Patton's soul. Now isn't really the time or place to talk about this. Patton tried to keep his voice chipper. He really liked this job, and he didn't want to have to leave it. Fine. The man fidgeted some more. When do you take lunch? I'll wait. Would he really? Or was he going to call the cops and out Patton? Not that he had any evidence. In 2 hours? Can you wait that long? He nodded slowly, handing Patton his library card. I'll be waiting in the park out back. Okie dokie. This was bad. This was really bad. Patton checked out the books for him, looking at the name on the card. Virgil. He shouldn't have done that. It was always easier to do the hard things if he just didn't pay attention to names or the things that made a person human. But he was already attached. Virgil left, and Patton could see him through the glass where he sat on a bench with his books. He didn't look like he was going to betray Patton, but there was still that nagging feeling in the back of his mind. When lunch finally came, his fingers were itching, fighting with the indecision of how to handle this situation. He had built this life for him, with his fake friends and sturdy walls. He didn't want to have to start over. Wasn't he allowed just a little bit of peace? No. He was a villain. This was par for the course. He sat across Virgil. So, I'm not gonna go to the police, but can you fix this? Like, I'm terrified of you, and I know I shouldn't be, but my anxiety has always been bad, but this, he frowned a bit. Why don't you think you should be scared of me? You don't actually do much. And you don't actually do much. And actually, you pushed down my anxiety for a bit, and honestly, it felt great. Plus, you're in a lot of pain, like, emotionally. What? You didn't think you were the only one in town with powers, right? Patton's mouth just about dropped to the table. He stood, his head looking up at Virgil. So, what's your power? I can feel insecurities and heartbreak by touching someone. Weird, right? I can't do much with that, especially since I don't know why. I just know it's there. I kind of try to ignore it, but when you touched me yesterday and today, it was hella strong. So, if you can fix the extra anxiety stuff, so I don't think you're gonna kill me every time we're around each other, I'll listen. He couldn't hide the surprise on his face. Patton had never had someone reach out and just offer to listen. How do I know you won't betray me? You don't. We haven't really built that trust, but my address is attached to my library card, so you know where I live, right? You kind of hold all the cards. Why would you even do this? I'm a villain. You're a vigilante. You should search yourself online sometimes. People are talking about how all of the money you steal goes to families in need or community-funded projects. Pretty sure the only people who see you as a villain are the corporate monsters, and yourself. Patton wasn't sure when he started crying, but he held out his hand and Virgil gently took it. Back to normal. No excess fear Patton had manufactured. And Virgil squeezed his hand, continuing to hold it. I'm here. And I'm here, as long as you need me. Thanks for helping the community. Thank you all for listening. Again, that was Villain or Vigilante, the first in our Flip the Script series. I do hope you all enjoyed it, and I hope you have a wonderful day. It's good to be back.